no tattoo artist wants to be a business person. They think of themselves as an artist, and the art is their identity, but the business is the people. And they focus so much on, it's important. They focus so much on the next flash sheet that they don't even think about fostering those relationships and checking their DMs and like having a good booking system and like treating it like you're a CEO of a business.
Yeah. The minute you start charging for tattoos, right? Not the minute you do tattoos.
Yeah.
The minute you do tattoos, you're just an artist. The minute you exchange any amount of money for a tattoo, you've become the CEO of your own company.
Yeah. And even the best shop is not going to do the work for you. Oftentimes the owners, they're not even good with their finances. I don't know many people at all in the industry who are.
Welcome to the Artful Dollar podcast. It's me, Ryan, tattooer, money guy, things, doing the conversations with the money. And I found someone on Instagram, as I do, that I was like, ooh, I want to talk to you about tattooing and money and these things, because they, like myself, are a tattooer in our souls. We will always be tattoo artists, but they don't tattoo as much as they used to. And they have gone into another career path of real estate. And I was like, oh, this just seems like the type of person I want to have a money conversation with, a life conversation with. And so today on the podcast, we have Skylar. Welcome.
Thank you so much. I've been a fan of your channel for a long time. I don't know if you remember, I messaged you in the past, like asking advice. I wanted to sign up for your program, but you asking me to do this was like, wow, that's really cool. Of course I want to do this. So.
Oh, I'm honored. And anytime I meet anyone, I talk to a lot of tattooers and other entrepreneurs that are like, oh, I listen to every episode. I'm like, that's crazy. I had no idea. I was just like, I have fun doing this. Mm-hmm. And I'm glad that someone out there, anyone out there I'm not just screaming into the void.
Yeah. So. I don't think I've seen, I guess I should introduce myself. I'm Skylar Grey.
Yeah.
I work with Keller Williams. I'm a full-time realtor. We'll get into it, but I did stop tattooing recently, like just period, for health reasons. But I love what I do now, and it's been a journey.
And how long were you tattooing for?
8 years.
Wow.
I know.
So that's a big chunk of your life.
Yeah.
And I think that was one of the, originally I was like, ooh, they do real estate. Like, let's talk about that. And I would love to dive into anything around that. But there's this other part that is you being a tattoo artist and our identity and our lives. You can't just dabble in tattooing. It's like all or nothing. And now you're in this place where that's not what you do anymore. Mm-hmm. I'm also in a similar place. And maybe there's people out there listening that, you know, maybe you see yourself as being a tattoo artist forever, but stuff happens. So what happened? How did that go down?
Yeah. I've used the womb to tomb line on quite a few of my clients. Oh, don't worry if you can't book this year. I'm going to be doing this the day that I die. You know, right. I'm going to be doing this the longer you wait, the better I get. Totally fine. Which that right. was true. But it was my whole life. It was my whole identity. I didn't realize it was my identity. And around 5 years in, I started experiencing neck pain. I used to do like aerial acrobats and things like that. And I got injured easily and just never really like recovered. And I just struggled more.
Did you fall? Like,
so I have Ehlers-Danlos. I have a ton of autoimmune stuff. I have a ton of health issues.
Gotcha.
So my joints are just and my ligaments are very squishy and they're hyperextended. And when you're doing stuff like that, it's not even a fall. It's like you just move the wrong way.
My partner told me something the other day. She said she heard that people who are like spiritual healers often deal with autoimmune disorders.
Can you explain that? Can you tell me more? Because that's interesting.
I don't. That's it. I'm just going to leave that. So you can
okay.
Just...
I would love to.
That's what she told. She told me she heard that, and I was like, interesting. Like something about our physical form.
Yeah.
Are the parts of us that are meant to protect us are also fighting us. Maybe we're not fully meant for the physical realm, and maybe our energy is just it's trying to escape a little bit sooner. You know?
Yeah. No, I definitely resonate with that. And it tracks with a lot of people I know. I feel like any suffering or trials, it make or breaks you. I know some people that have, because I have like lupus and stuff. I know a lot of people that have it, or at least I've seen online, and I'm not downplaying their struggle, but I feel like it breaks them and it stops them from living. And I feel like for me, my health issues, so the not being able to tattoo anymore took me about 3 years to I started feeling that pain, couldn't lift my head up. Started posture therapy, got a little better, it got a little worse. I'd get a new bed, it got a little better. And then over the course of 3 years, just kind of coming to terms with the fact, like, there'd be days where I couldn't use my hand. I'd have to cancel a whole month of appointments. This didn't
Oh my
happen once.
God.
This would happen like a lot.
And like
Um,
for anyone that doesn't know you or your work, like I was scrolling through your Instagram, like you weren't just like kind of a tattooer, like you're a fucking sick tattoo artist. I'm just
Thank
gonna say it. Like
you.
you are. It is clear that you were committed to the womb to the tomb, and that seemed to be the plan. So
I like to be really good at whatever I do. I want to dive into whatever I do and be
yeah,
passionate about it. I'm kind of just a really intense person. I can be a lot.
I don't identify with that at all. I don't know what that's like.
Sarcasm.
A
So
little bit.
yeah, right along like maybe so 5 years in, I started getting injured. Around 6 or 7, I realized like I want my sleeves, and I want to mentor under someone. Like I want to learn. Like I was good, but I wasn't great, and I like wanted to be really fucking good. Can I curse?
Oh yeah, you can say
Okay,
whatever the
I
fuck you
really
want.
wanted to be really fucking good. Like I wanted to be. I don't expect myself to be the best. That's not a thing. But I started following. Do you know Casas?
It's familiar. Thing sounds familiar.
Christian Casas over in Spain. He did my arm.
Okay,
Yeah, he's really
nice,
good. Um,
cool.
it took me about 2 years to get in with him, especially with COVID happening. So I planned my trip over there, and then between the planning and the going, I sort of realized, oh, like I'm not able to like tattoo at all. So
Wow.
I still went. I mentored under him. I drew a lot. Didn't tattoo at all the whole time I was there. Um,
Wow.
yeah. So
That's
I
really
got
committed
better.
to tattooing. Like you're so committed to tattooing that even if you can't tattoo, you're
Yeah.
still gonna learn how to do it
Yeah.
better. Wow.
I was on fake skin a little bit, mostly digital. Around it was incredible to be in a shop like that where they're doing bodysuits every day. I mean, they're like world class. It was a
Yeah.
whole other ball game. Yeah.
Wow.
So right around when I got really, really good is like when I kind of had to quit. So when I came back about a year ago, I was trying to do real estate and tattooing full time because I realized tattooing is not going to be a full time, long term viable career for me. But I had like high hopes for like, oh, I'll keep tattooing. Like I'll do it on the side. Right now I'll do it to pay some extra bills. Like I'll always keep doing it. And I tried the part-time thing with each. Really hard to get good at something new while you're doing something else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm also again like I'm the same way. Like if I'm doing something, like I am a whole ass doer.
Yeah.
And when I started doing financial coaching, I was tattooing 4 days a week. And so there wasn't a lot of time to work on
No.
the coaching business. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to go to 3 days a week. And I was actually working with a coach that who's like a marketing sales for coaches, like helping me grow the business. And he's like, are you trying to like be a tattoo artist that does financial coaching, or are you
Yeah.
trying to be a financial coach that does tattooing, or like
Yeah.
what do you want to do? And I broke down crying in that session because it was at the moment that I realized that my soul wanted to help people with their finances more than my soul wanted to continue tattooing.
Yeah.
And it was this huge identity like chasm. I mean, it was like
It's
mourning almost
awful.
this death.
It's awful.
What was that like even when you decided to get your real estate license,
Yeah.
was there like
Yeah.
when was the moment that you kind of mourned that death of this identity?
I'll probably get emotional. I was in denial for about 3 years, from 5 to 8 years of that in between period. When
Yeah,
I came back, and mind you, when I came back, I was so much better as an artist. I'm using like,
I'm sure.
oh my God, my work improved, which was the worst time to get good at something. And I bought like a $2,000 Tatsel bed to help with my back.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Couple months of that, and I just started like when I would show up for work. This is the first time in my career that I would dread it. Like no one wants to get up and go to work. But even after I got there and like was getting ready, I was like, I don't want to be in this kind of pain today, tomorrow, the next day. So it Pavloved me into hating what I was doing.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I had a couple months where I did literally nothing. I guess that was my ego death moment. I didn't really realize it. I went into a cocoon, which I consider my bed, and I just
Yeah.
spent like a month or two just, I don't know, just despondent. I wasn't doing real estate, wasn't tattooing. I was just existing. I've never done that. I think it's good to kind of take a couple months off life.
Yeah, absolutely. Right,
but
the caterpillar needs to go into the cocoon
yeah, that's why I
to
call
be
it
able to turn into the
cocoon.
butterfly. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's an essential. It might look like they're doing nothing; they're just laying
Yeah.
there. But you're like, nah, I'm like transforming on the
Yeah.
inside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I go into it sometimes if I have a hard day or a rough week. I'll be like, I need to cocoon for a couple hours. But
I don't blame you.
it just, even after, so I went full-time real estate, barely tattooing, maybe 2 a month. I still considered my mentally, like you can see it on my Instagram page. There's a shift. And
Yeah.
I'm like trying
I
to still
saw that.
post.
I scrolled down and I saw the shift. Yeah.
I'm trying to post equal amounts of content. I'm trying to keep it relevant to tattooers because I felt
You do the
like,
same thing. Have you scrolled down mine? Have you gone and seen the shift
yeah,
on
I
mine?
did. Yeah, I
Yeah.
did. I
Yeah.
did the same thing. That's why I really relate to you. And I had not a ton of people, but like a lot of, I feel like there's a toxic mindset. You know, if you're a quitter, like just
Yeah.
a lot of judgment from the tattoo, and the tattoo artists are
Or
the people
like
I want to help the
people
most.
people assume that I couldn't hack it as a tattoo artist. I've gotten those comments, like those
Yeah.
trolls. They're like, "Oh, yeah, the guy that couldn't hack it as a tattooer is now teaching people how to be good with their money. Clearly, it worked out so well for you." I'm like, "No, dude, that's not how I was like super busy tattooing. I just found how dare I find something that I love more than tattooing, which I never thought was going to happen."
Yeah, me neither.
And it's definitely a little bit different of a situation for you, but you are passionate about what you're doing. I think as tattooers, it's hard for us to follow something that we're not passionate about. And I was passionate as fuck about tattooing. It was my world.
Yeah.
So how did that happen? When did you start? Do you feel passionate about what you're doing? Do you not?
So
Is it
passionate.
growing?
Yeah.
Okay, tell me about that.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
I've gaslit myself into thinking that I could do this, and like, because real estate is such a 180, and I was never in a corporate environment. Maybe 4 or 5 years ago, I didn't know what equity was, but
most people listening to this podcast don't know what equity is. So
yeah, and it's a beautiful thing if you have it. But I'm trying to find the best way. I don't know. Sometime after my like super depressed couple months, and I started tattooing full time, my lovely family decided that I was killing myself tattooing as well, and it was hurting my neck. I just wasn't okay, and I really wanted to give real estate a real try. So they were gonna finance, like, just give me the money I need to survive while I go full time. Yeah. And a couple months of being a full time realtor, I woke up one day and I was just, I'm a realtor. I'm not a tattoo artist anymore. Like, I hadn't been in my booth for like a month or two. I use like a slow thing, but then all of a sudden, and you can see it on my page, I'm like, I guess I'm a realtor. And I still have, it hasn't been a super long time. I still have moments like, I'm going to sell this house. Like, who let me do this? Why
totally.
am I, like, who's allowing me to like be an adult like this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I applied and then I got picked, and I can't even announce it officially, but I got picked to speak at a big financial convention.
Oh, that's so cool.
In October.
Yeah.
And I got the email a couple days ago, and I was like, how the fuck did this happen? Who the fuck messed up? Someone fucked up. And they're letting me talk to a bunch of financial coaches and advisors about coaching. And it was like, blew my mind. But life's weird like that, right?
You earn that, though. I do. I can see the consistency, the passion. I think me and you vibe because I also, in a very different way, want to help my tattoo community. I started out with the real estate, like only wanting to help them. That were my primary focus. I have found that is not the best business tactic, given for a realtor, given how stubborn they are, and very like walls are up. Mm-hmm. We have about 90 shops in my city. It's a very large city, Duval.
Yeah. Where are you located?
Jacksonville, Florida.
Jacksonville, Florida.
Yeah.
So if anyone needs a house, you know who to go to. If you're curious, if you're house curious, right?
Yeah, if you have any questions, like, I can hook you up with a lender. I can hook you up with a lawn guy. I like to build relationships and community more than like, let me know when you're ready. It's not really.
Which ultimately, that's what a realtor and a financial advisor, that's what they are, is they're relationship builders.
Yes.
They're people. You need to be a financial advisor. You get a license. It's the same thing as a realtor's license. And then the license needs to be hung with a organization.
Yeah.
It's the exact same thing. But you don't need a college degree. You don't need a background in that. You need to know the laws around it. And you need to be good with people and being good at listening for what they need and solving problems. Like, that's it. It's actually like the same job, just on two different kind of...
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So you've experienced a similar... I don't know if this happened for you. When I started doing real estate, so I'm reading these books, the MREA, which is a beautiful book. You should read it. It applies to a lot of service-based jobs. But I'm learning about what a CRM is. I'm learning about
a client relationship manager.
Yeah. Your book of
Yeah.
business. I'm
Yeah.
realizing
Oh, yeah.
I don't know how many thousands of people I've tattooed. Okay, I don't have any other info. I know. Hear me out.
It's
They
like
kind of.
literally like gold. Like there's
I
like
know. I
a
know.
fuck ton of gold in a pot,
I know.
and you just like gave the
I
pot
know. I
away.
just burned it. No, I feel like I
Yeah.
set it on fire. Um, I did move cities, which is big because a lot of the people I would have worked with are in Tampa, which I do have a referral network if anyone anywhere needs anything. But I hired a VA at one point, and I want to do a video on this, and I am speaking about this next week at a financial seminar thing.
Awesome.
That yeah, I hired a VA to go onto my Instagram and pull up the last 3 years worth of people I've talked to and create a list. So
That's excellent.
yeah,
Yeah. I
he
highly recommend people do that. Like
if
even
I
just tattoo artists or anyone, hairstylists,
yeah
whatever your job is.
yeah
Like if you don't have a place where you have organized information, a way to contact past clients, that's the first thing you should be doing.
I agree. I will say that list was significantly more beneficial as an artist, not so much as a realtor. I feel like your book of business is very different as a realtor.
Sure. But you know what? I view conversations are the catalyst, the seed
Yeah.
that turns into money. It turns into business. It turns into
Yeah.
clients. It starts with a conversation. So this conversation is like a seed. And so if you're a farmer, right, and you wanted to grow a crop of 1,000 ears of corn, would you plant 1,000 seeds? No. You would plant 2,000 or 3,000 seeds because you
Yeah.
know that not every seed is actually going to grow.
Yeah.
And so you might have this book of past tattoo clients, and whether you want to tattoo or you want to potentially network to
Yeah.
find people that need help buying a house, you can plant those seeds
Yeah.
and just reach out to people and touch base, keep that relationship warm.
Yeah.
And then who knows, maybe they don't need help right now, but then they're talking to their cousin 2 months from now, and their cousin's like, oh, I need to buy a house in the Jacksonville, Florida area.
Yeah.
And they're like, that's so weird because my tattoo artist is actually doing this. And so that seed might not grow right away,
Yeah.
but it will grow over time. And some of the seeds will never grow.
Yeah.
But our job is not to get clients. As I tell the people I work with in my course, your job is not to get clients and book appointments. Your job is to plant seeds.
Yes.
Plant as many seeds as you can,
Yeah.
and trust that they will naturally turn into appointments.
And then nurture the ones that I feel like are showing
Yes.
that connection.
Give them sun,
and really
water
nurture them. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. It's something that I kick myself for not doing when I was tattooing.
So for anyone listening to this, if you're not doing this right now, and again, this isn't like if you don't tattoo one day, you're going to need this. No, you need this right now. A CRM, a booking software,
Yeah.
a way to organize and collect client data, because who knows what is going to happen in the future? Who knows? One day you might find yourself becoming a neurosurgeon. And you need, I don't know why I picked that profession.
Yeah.
You're like DMing people like, do you know anyone that needs brain surgery? Because I became a neurosurgeon. But you don't know. So
I feel like it's especially relevant, not even just for if you change careers, like now. Like I feel like
that's what I mean.
could,
Yeah.
you could triple your bookings like within a month if you
100%.
really sat down and like talked to people.
Yeah.
And no tattoo artist wants to be a business person. I don't think they think of themselves as an artist, and the art is their identity, but the business is the people, and they focus so much on, it's important. They focus so much on the next splash sheet that they don't even think about like fostering those relationships and checking their DMs and like having a good booking system and like treating it like you're a CEO of a business.
Yeah. The minute you start charging for tattoos, right? Not the minute you do tattoos.
Yeah.
The minute you do tattoos, you're just an artist. The minute you exchange any amount of money for a tattoo, you've become the CEO of your own company.
Yeah. And even the best shop is not going to do the work for you. Oftentimes the owners or, they're not even good with their finances. I don't know many people at all in the industry who are, which is why when I found your channel, it was right around when I read like Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and I was just starting to kind of become financially literate. I feel like I've just started my journey still. But I was like, oh my God, his page is great. Like there's a guy who's in the industry. He's talking about it. I love it.
I was really scared in the beginning to talk about it. It's scary. I was just like, I just knew that there was going to be people out there that were going to be mad at me for talking about this stuff. And I had to face that fear and that judgment. Did you, in transitioning What was that like for you? Was there some like fear? Did you get any hate? Did anyone like?
Yeah. So my transition from career to career coincided with a huge shift in my personality and like my
Mm,
soul. So I mean, I feel
mm,
like that makes sense.
that makes
Um,
sense. Yeah,
I'm still like a recovering people pleaser, but
me
I,
as well.
yeah,
Totally. Yeah.
but, I've changed a lot, and I think in a really beautiful way. A lot of the people in my life weren't comfortable with it. I started setting boundaries. I started taking up space and not constantly making myself small to make other people happy. I think I'm an amazing friend. I think I'm a good person, but I lost like everyone in Tampa, just everyone. So the move,
Because you weren't tattooing anymore.
because I was different, because I was changing.
Mm,
And then that change almost immediately led to changing careers. So I feel like it was like they were together.
yeah.
I do think that my interests changing, and then so that was personal, and then professionally, yes, a lot of like I lost a relationship over changing my career. I lost like a couple of friendships in the industry. A couple of them came back, and that's great. I think they just didn't understand.
Do you
Um,
think you would have had this evolution of the soul had you not had to quit tattooing?
no, I think that my health issues, as much as they make me miserable and make life hard, I really think that it forced me into this growth. Like it was that or lie down and die. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Those are my options. And I
If
don't
you
want that.
didn't have this growth, like let's look at an alternate timeline
Okay.
where you just keep tattooing. Do you feel like you would have been more fulfilled, less fulfilled? I don't
No,
know. It's a
I
weird
would have to
question.
be on drugs for sure. I'd have to be on painkillers. I'd have to, and I don't fuck with all that. But like, I was in enough pain. I'd have to be medicating heavily, which I do know some
Yeah.
artists who do. I would be super toxic relationship with my body. I'd be living paycheck to paycheck. I mean, I'm not in a great financial place now, but I'm in like a transition, so
Sure.
I feel like there's like purpose behind it.
Yeah.
I would be absolutely miserable, and I'd probably end up in the hospital, and I would lose function of my hands and like become. I'd have to go on disability and just
Yeah.
yeah, that's what
So
would
just
happen.
listening to your body, which is telling you that it hates itself and it wants to kill itself, but or whatever it's telling you.
No, it
But
does.
yeah, but listening to that led you down a path
Yeah,
of internal growth, and I mean, it sounds like you're in a happier place than you have been in a long time.
yeah. I'm always like in my tiny little body. There's a lot of room for emotion. I'm able to be very, very happy and optimistic, and still feel like miserable at the same time.
Sure, we get
It's a
that.
superpower.
It's
But
very
I will,
relatable.
yes. But I will say that like even if last night like I was crying because my neck hurt, I know that I'm gonna have a really good day today, and I was excited for this, and I'm excited for next week. I made a little post and I said something like, "When I wake up in the morning, my neck is stiff and it hurts, but I'm like excited about the day."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell me, how has this passionate part of you that was super passionate about tattooing, what does that look like now? Where it's has it gone into real estate, or is it
Yeah.
because you? Yeah. So tell me about how does that transpire?
Once I kind of accepted that death and that mourning process, I was dabbling and I was interested in it, but now I'm like full fucking tilt into real estate. As much as my health will allow me, I'm in it. Like
Why is it exciting for you?
my one of my favorite things about it. There's two probably big things. I've been so right brained and creative and freedom for so long that the sense of structure and like challenge that thinking about finances and thinking about the economy and thinking about like systems and CRMs, it challenges the other side of my brain and it creates a sense of balance. And it's
Yeah.
really beautiful. And I find it fascinating. And I think it's the tism in me, but I just get really into it. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. And then I think on a social level, I've always felt a lack of community. It's something I didn't realize for a long time. I've wanted to be more involved in community. I've dabbled in it and failed at trying. Going over to Europe for a while, I realized like I'm really missing community, like just art community, down the road community. No one goes outside. Real estate sort of forces me out of my house. I am door knocking. I am at businesses putting flyers in the windows. I'm meeting new people. I'm hosting seminars and events and doing a podcast. And it's just, I don't know, it's amazing.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And so while you lost this old community, which by the way, I find in my own life, as I've noticed sort of making these like quantum leaps in my energy level,
Mm-hmm.
like people will stay friends with you or in your life as long as your energy supports their energy and doesn't challenge them too much.
Yes, it's the challenging their identity. I think the moment that they're like, you make them uncomfortable is when they kind of pull away.
Yeah. It's
Um,
not that you're doing anything wrong, and it's not that they're doing anything wrong
yeah,
either.
yeah,
It's just that who you are becoming is reflecting back at them
yeah,
areas in which they aren't
yeah,
willing to look or aren't willing to
yeah,
grow, which is normal. And it's
yeah,
not something, I'm not shaming that. Like, we're
yeah,
all on our own fucking journey on a rock, floating around a fireball, just trying to make sense of this shit. So do you, but I've noticed that who I was at times in my life, and I've always been on a growth trajectory. I'm always challenging myself. I love it. I love hanging around people that make me feel uncomfortable because they reveal to me how much growth I need to do. Like, I love
yeah,
that. But then it was like really offensive to other people. And I just
yeah,
had to recognize, all right, there's nothing wrong with them. But I thought there was something wrong with me for a long time.
yeah, 100%. I really thought that because the people that I used to talk to and hang out with like weren't vibing with me anymore, that I racked my brain. What did I do wrong? What did I do wrong? And then I realized it was either grow and lose them or stay the same and be stagnant and kind of stay in that place. I do wish that growth and change and like drifting apart, people were more accepting of it. It doesn't have to be this like argumentative, contentious thing. I don't have to be
Right.
the bad guy. You don't have to be the bad guy. There doesn't have to
Totally.
be a bad guy.
Right, but that's a really interesting like thing to think about because it is a normal part of life. Growing apart. Oh, you're interested in something different? I am too. We were
Yeah.
in each other's lives for a certain season of life, and it doesn't need to be like, oh, well, now you're bad because we don't vibe the same way.
Yeah.
That's totally normal.
Yeah.
If I could wave a magic wand, at least right now in this moment, there's probably a lot of things I would change about people, the world, and stuff like to better the world.
Yeah.
But I think something that would be super healthy for the tattoo industry would be to loosen by maybe 20-30%, loosen the grip that the identity of being a tattoo artist has on tattooers.
Yeah. I, you don't have to, okay. You don't have to like live and eat and breathe and just obsess about something to love it. Like you can love a
Yeah.
career and you can love a person and you can let them go out without you. You can let yourself be into other things or like do. I know what you're saying and I agree.
When I realized that tattooing, it was my whole life, it was everything. It was live,
Yeah.
breathe, eat, drink, die, tattooing. And then when I started to realize, well, I'm an artist regardless of whether or not I'm a tattoo artist.
Mm-hmm.
And my life is kind of my work of art as a whole. Like, I'm into reading. I love writing.
Yeah.
I love
Creating.
conversations. I love communication. And when I realized that tattooing is a part of my overall artwork, which is my life, and then I saw that, all right, understanding the tools around money, learning how to have money flow into and through my life, it's kind of like a medium that you get to paint and create with. And my whole perspective, my artist brain, my right side artist brain, I could use it in the area of
Yeah.
money. And that
Yeah.
gave me a ton of freedom. And ultimately, yeah, just realizing that not tattooing is a piece of who I am and it always
Yeah.
will be. I'll
Yeah.
never lose that. But I don't have to carry that as all of who I am. And it was very
Yeah.
liberating.
I'm kind of glad that I was a little forced out of it. I wish that I could stay, like I could still tattoo sometimes. I am wrapping up a couple things later that I have to, but that's amazing. That's so amazing. I agree with you. Yeah.
Yeah, and I that doesn't just go for tattooing. I think it goes for everything. And as humans, we tend to identify strongly with the thing that we do a lot. Is or even you ever get into Eckhart Tolle? You know Eckhart Tolle?
I
He
do.
wrote
I
like
think
The
I have
Power
him
of
right here.
Now. He was on. Oh yeah, he was on like the Oprah Winfrey book
I
club
got
of
his Power
forever.
of Now. Yeah.
Power of Now, great book. He talks about like a parent, a mother will identify so strongly as being a mother far past the point at which it serves them to identify as a mother,
Yeah.
right? So your kid is 34 years old and you think you need to be their mother. You're no longer needed to be their mother.
Yeah.
You can, like, my parents are like friends. Like I feel like my parents are just like old friends. They don't tell me how to live my life.
I love
They
that.
don't worry about me. If I need advice and stuff, like, I always seek it out. But yeah, they don't feel like my parents anymore. They just feel like some cool old people that, used to do a lot of psychedelics back in the 60s, and now I can ask them for advice.
I do feel like that flexibility and identity, or just openness to change, is something that the community struggles with. But I feel like what you were explaining, and I'm kind of like processing, just the activation of the left side of my brain, the systems and all of that, in tandem with the creativity, has created, like, it's the amount of growth that I can experience and do is like endless now, because I was open to something different.
Yeah.
I can literally learn all day, every day. I can grow all day, every day. It's very exciting.
If you've been enjoying this episode or found my podcast helpful and you think other people would benefit from listening, then all I ask in return is please leave a quick review or subscribe. It'll take just 1 minute and it might help other tattooers and artists find this podcast and help them. So please, it would mean the world to me and it might make a difference for someone else. Thanks. So I sent you a whole list of questions.
Mm-hmm. I saw that list and I was like, oh God.
I have two monitors, so I'm like kind of peeking at like, what would be some good questions to ask? And I've been on a mindset journey. My whole, I feel like all the strategies, all the tools, it's all great stuff, but it is my perspective. And I think just what you shared right there about learning and growing, like, how important do you feel mindset versus strategy is in achieving not just success in your business, but in your life?
I don't think that any system or any support or any amount of money or any tool is going to get you there if you don't already have the mindset for it. I think
what does that mean to you?
It's the fuel on the fire. It's hard for me to articulate well. Okay, so I'm given all of the tools I need, all of the systems, everything I need to be successful, but I don't believe in my soul that it's possible, which is something I struggle with.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be able to do it.
Yeah.
You're going to hold yourself back, whether you realize it consciously or not. You're going to have that nervous energy when you're talking with somebody. You're going to lose out on things. You're not going to see opportunities because, I can't do that. Like, that's not for me. Mindset, I think, is literally the foundation of your entire everything.
How do you maintain, especially in the face of a lot of physical limitations, like how do you maintain a strong, positive mindset in the face of challenges?
I think I'm really stubborn and resilient. I do think...
For better or worse, right?
Yeah. I do think that I'm almost equally anxious and self-doubting. So I do oscillate. But I think that having the habit of, I was in therapy for 5 or 6 years. I have journaling. I have tools and practices, and I meditate. And those things help me ground myself and pull myself out of that anxiety. I did just start reading Atomic Habits.
Nice.
Yeah, it called me out pretty hard.
Oh, yeah?
I've been struggling, for example, to do physical therapy because I view myself subconsciously as someone who was weak physically, who was broken. And that mindset, I couldn't figure out why. I don't hate physical therapy. It makes me feel better. Why aren't I doing it? Like, I need to be doing it. And then I just kind of sat down and I was like, I think I'm broken. I don't think it's going to help me. I don't feel like I have any autonomy in this situation.
Right. So if you already believe it's not going to help me, it's not possible, and you're like, but I need to do it because it's going to, but if you, deep down, if you're honest with yourself, I don't believe that's going to work. Why would you do it? Why would you take the action?
You can kind of force yourself to do it a couple days, and I am struggling. I think I'm going to continue to struggle quite a bit with it until I have a procedure in about a month that's going to really, like right now, my neck hurts. It's going to really reduce a lot of the pain and it's going to help me get in a better place. But just like, I practice a lot of mindfulness. I'm kind of new to it, but sitting with that discomfort and not like really writing down on a page or really addressing what are the darkest thoughts I have about myself? Like, let me sit with those thoughts and like embrace them. Like, I suck. I'm a fucking loser. Like, nobody likes me. Just really like the worst things you've ever thought in the world about yourself. And then like, I'm okay. Like, I felt it.
Yeah.
I know that's not true.
That's a great exercise.
Yeah.
I've done a lot of journaling in my life.
Yeah.
I mean, I think my journal is one of the most important
Yes.
tools
Yes.
in, because it's a fucking shit show up here,
Yeah,
like
it
a
really
total
is.
shitstorm. So like I need to just lay it out and get it out there so that I can like start to see the pieces and be like, oh, okay, no, it's not as scary as the mess inside.
Yeah.
But I did that exercise where I was in a program and they're like, okay, take that voice that's just like knows that everything's going to fail and it's not going to work, and just write a whole page as long as you can until we tell you to stop. Just write out everything and it says. And it's just like, oh my God, I can't do this because I don't make enough money. And if I try to, and then people are going to judge me and I'm stupid, I'm going to look so dumb. And then I'm going to do this and someone's going to comment on this and they're going to hate this. And if I do that, and if I do make too much money, then people are going to judge me for that. And then, and you just like, get it all the fuck out, because it's all in here subconsciously stopping you from taking action. And until you pour it out on the page and you actually see it for what it is, it will continue to stop you.
Yeah. And you live in fear. My therapist called it a tiger that with no teeth. So that like that tiger that like it's very physically, I could get into like trauma and I could do that for hours. But it's very physically
we did a whole episode on that the other day.
Okay. It's very physically triggering to feel judged or afraid of a new thing or have an identity crisis or just whatever, because like that demon that has been with you your whole life that you've been avoiding and not looking at, and like doing this to avoid it, doing this to avoid it. And then you sit down and you look at that demon and you face it, and you sit down with that tiger and it goes to take a bite out of you. And you're like, oh, this bitch is toothless. Like, my heart is racing. My head is fuzzy. I'm dizzy. And I'm sitting in this room and I'm alone and I'm actually still safe and I'm okay. And it didn't fucking kill me that I annoyed that person yesterday, or that so for me, it's like, I'm too talkative. I'm too excitable. I'm too much. And I am intense. I know this. But
that's who you are.
And I actually just watched Deadpool last night, and I was like, if I'm annoying like Deadpool, I'm fucking fine with that. I'm fine with that.
It's just about finding that life that is in alignment with who you authentically are. Not hiding.
It's hard.
And I think leaving tattooing, when your identity is so wrapped up in something, and then you face the judgment, you face the toothless tiger.
Yeah.
And you realize, you know what? I'm still fucking here.
Yeah.
And like this whole fucking world, again, like this has nothing to do with, people are going to hear it and they're going to be like, oh, you're judging tattoo. No. It's like, it's any identity that you wrap too tightly around.
Yes.
When you let go of it and you face the judgment, and people say shit all the time. Someone was like, how many tattoos did you do last year? And I was like, I did 5 tattoos last year. I don't have a problem with that. Like, I'm doing other things. I'm passionate about something.
Yeah.
You become unstoppable.
Yeah.
You become fucking bulletproof. It's a level of freedom that I have never experienced in my life, facing the toothless tiger and realizing, oh shit, I'm still here and I can do anything.
You're a little further in your journey. I feel like I am a couple like chapters behind, where like I am feeling the freedom for the first time and it's freaking me out. Like I have moments where I'm like, am I allowed? I just saw your thing on You Should Cry. It feels good. I cried the other day because I was like, I'm in a good relationship. I'm going to be selling this house soon. I like my career. I'm like getting better health. Like, I was like, am I allowed to like, I'm allowed to have these things? Like, it just felt really good.
Yeah. Joe Dispenza, I don't know if you ever get into him. He wrote Becoming Superhuman. Definitely get into Joe Dispenza. The whole manifestation, energy, quantum world.
Yeah.
He talks about how our bodies get addicted to the chemicals that are produced when we're living in that survival scarcity mode.
Oh, for sure. That makes
your body
sense.
produces certain chemicals, certain trauma responses, nervous system stuff, right? And so then when we experience something that's not that scarcity, like something's actually good, that's why we self-sabotage, because we're actually subconsciously addicted to feeling shitty the way we did, because it's familiar. We're used to it, and it subconsciously, we're just like, I need to get back to there, because that, I know that. I don't know this abundance, life beyond my wildest dreams shit. That's fucking weird. It doesn't feel safe. It's the strangest thing, but we get addicted to that life that doesn't serve us. It's
taught to you usually at an early age. If I do this thing, I'm safe. If I do this thing, I'm safe. And you might be killing yourself to do it. You might be squishing your personality or whatever it looks like for you, or avoiding said thing, but it makes you feel safe. And then the moment that you do a healthy thing that's new, your whole neural pathways that you spent decades creating, you're on a new path now, and your brain is like, no, we're in danger, we're in danger, we're in danger, we're in danger. We have to fix this. We have to. And usually it's a self-sabotage thing.
The belief systems that helped keep you surviving for so long, they helped you play a smaller game that was safe, and it felt like you could control it. It felt manageable, even though it wasn't fully. If you play a bigger game, well, one, you're going to have bigger breakdowns. You're putting more at risk, but you're also going to have bigger breakthroughs. And so we constantly want to move back to that place that feels safe, like we can control it.
Yeah.
The problem is that the real freedom isn't found there. We're looking for freedom in that small place.
In a trap.
In a trap. Right. You're looking for freedom in a cage.
Yeah, you are.
And letting go of that, it feels like you're going to die. Your ego feels like, oh my God, I'm letting go of all these old belief systems.
Yeah.
If I let go of worrying about money, aren't I going to go broke? Isn't that what's going to happen? It's like, actually, no.
Yeah.
It's not.
I felt like the longer I tattooed, the more I got like entrenched in it. And because of feeling like I wasn't gonna be able, I was clinging to it. I was clawing my way. I was trying to hold on and hold on. And then now that I've kind of let go, I'm a little too busy with real estate to like do a lot of drawing, but I've noticed like my relationship with tattooing and art is a lot healthier. And now it's not like triggering anymore. And I don't find my identity. Like if I do a bad drawing, I don't love that, but like, I'm not like, oh, I'm a piece of shit. Like I'm my whole career.
Let me ask you this. How does so I noticed that my creativity didn't stop at all. If anything, my creativity exploded just through very different avenues. So writing is like a huge passion of mine right now. So where did your creativity was all focused on tattooing? What does that look like now in real estate?
I had to kind of tame it down a little bit. There's a lot of like tried and true systems that require you to not be creative to be successful.
Okay. Sure. I get that.
I noticed myself doing things that I went a little too far in the creative, and then you kind of recalibrate. But for me, it's finding different ways to stand out. Like instead of following a script, I follow like the flow of conversation, my brand, creating videos. But I just sit down sometimes when I'm tired of all that, and I'll just draw. And a lot of times I don't post it because it doesn't matter, and I'm just doing it to do it. Which is nice. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't get to draw as much as I used to, and I do miss it. And I get these ideas, I'm like, oh man, I just want to.
Oh, I mean, the amount of potential graveyard, like it's endless. I can't think of how many hundreds of thousands of like, oh, that'd be a cool drawing. And then I feel that.
But yeah, writing has, I found, and even like I lead a lot of seminars, a lot of talks, language, communication. I think it's magic. It's literally spelling, right? Spells. It's creating the world around us through, that's what the word abracadabra means. Have you heard that?
Yeah.
Abracadabra means, right? I speak with my word. Yeah.
That's really,
I create with my word. That's what it is. Yeah. I create with my word.
You articulated it better than I could. Again, you're a little further along, but just like creating those connections, it's hard to describe the creativity. It's not like a drawing you can present. I can't
right.
You know what I mean?
Well, that's what I for a while I thought, I was like, I haven't made art in a long time, but I don't feel, because when you don't make art for a while, you feel weird. Icky. You feel icky. You feel crispy, crunchy. I was like, but I don't feel that way. And I was like, oh, wow, this creativity is just coming out in all these other ways. Mm-hmm. That's why I don't feel that way. Believe me, I would feel real fucking weird if I wasn't living into that creative energy.
Yeah. I just, I realized, I think a lot of it is creative problem solving is like my favorite thing in the whole world.
Which I'm sure you have to do a lot of as a real estate
agent. Oh my gosh, so much. It could be personal. It could be reevaluating a tactic I'm doing. It could be a system I need to tag it differently. It's hard to explain, but a lot of times it's helping another person creatively problem solve is my favorite thing. My only roadblocks are when they don't want me to help them. Like I have these solutions and they're not open to them yet. I'm sure as a financial coach, you run into a lot of people who aren't ready for
you gotta be ready to work with me. You gotta be real fucking ready. And like those are the only people I work with. If you're kind of ready, I'm like, you need to cook a little bit longer before
You're
we
like,
work
here's my
together.
course or my videos. You can like hang out over
Right.
here.
Go hang out on my Instagram, which is fine. Like I actually signed someone up to take my program today. He said a year ago we had talked online. We were chatting through DM, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm thinking about it." And he never took me up on the offer to chat. A year later, we're here, we're talking, and he's like,
They're
"All right,
ready.
things are still the same. I'm just ready now." And I was like, "I totally get that. That's totally normal. I've heard so many people tell me that."
It's hard for me to meet a buyer that I know would benefit from doing a thing now, and they're scared, and I have to let them be scared and let them, I
Yeah.
can't force them into it. There's no perfect way to phrase it. I've tried. No amount of
So
fun,
what
like,
if someone comes to you and they're like, "All right, I'm still a little bit scared, but like I'm ready. Like what do I do?
oh, that's
I
fine.
don't know how to." So like I'm
Yeah,
coming to you.
yeah.
What do you tell me? What's
We,
the first thing?
Well, I have to kind of touch base with where you're at and figure out your situation so I can kind
Okay.
of mentally prep. But then I want to sit down with you for an appointment and I'm going to go over the whole process with you. I'm going to touch base. You're going to talk a lot because I need to learn a lot about your situation. Are you renting this?
Are there certain things that you need me to have in place before I have that conversation with you?
I hate to say it like this, a pain point. Like, it's a huge financial decision to buy a home. It takes a lot of effort to get your finances in order if they're not, that kind of thing. If you don't have like a real fucking reason, like if you are not sick of renting or you just really want your own place, like there has to be something driving you.
It has to be more than just a nice idea.
Yeah, like it's not gonna be enough.
So what if I'm so sick of renting and I can just feel it. Like I just want to be in a house, but I don't think I make enough money. I've got some tax stuff. I don't know
Yeah,
that I have enough saved. Like
yeah,
but I am so fucking ready to do it. Would you say
yeah.
that's more important than having the ducks in a row?
100%. There are so many people who have their ducks in a row and they're just too afraid to change anything. I think that obviously the people with the ducks in the row, if they decided they wanted to change, they could do it a little. They could buy a house overnight. Maybe you couldn't, but you're still more likely to get it done.
Yeah.
I would usually build a relationship with them. I love hooking people up with the right people. So my favorite lender, I would have them contact him. He can decide
Right.
if you have enough savings. If we can get you on a loan that has no down payment and we can work on getting closing concessions and like we can work on finding a path for you, or if it really is buckling down and paying off that credit card.
And honestly, I always tell people, I'm like, go through the pre-approval process. You will
Yes.
learn so
You learn
much,
so
and it's
much.
free. It doesn't
Yes.
cost you anything because they only make money if a deal actually goes through.
Yeah.
But for you to go through it, you're going to learn how far away you actually are and
Yeah.
what you need to do very specifically to greatly improve your chances of being able to get approved, buy a home, get the right interest rate, all
Yeah.
this stuff. But
Yeah.
it's that I feel like that's the first step. I always tell people like talk to a realtor, have them recommend a lender that they know that they work with, and then just go through the pre-approval process. You're going to learn, even if you think you're light years away from buying a house, you should still go through that because it's going to point you in the right direction. It's going to say, okay, work on these 3 things right now, and then from there we'll work on this, this, and this.
Mm-hmm. It's crazy to me that, and clients do this for tattoos. They want to come up with the design, they want to draw it themselves, they want to show up and be the tattoo artist.
Mm-hmm.
I understand. I don't get it.
Right.
It
Like I need to know everything that I want to get done before I come
Yeah.
and get a consultation.
Yeah. You don't
So no,
even
that's
know.
actually my job.
Most people don't even know how to find a lender, and they're going to go to their bank, and it's like the worst person you could go to. And I've done it. I got pre-approved with Bank of America, and they gave me
Yeah.
the worst terms ever. It's the worst. The communication is the worst. It is not your job to know all the steps. It's really just your job to show up, and it takes amount of bravery to sit down with a lender and show them. I was talking with Sean today. We went over my credit score and everything. I'm refinancing my car, and it's icky. Like it's not fun to look at all of the consequences of your bad decisions.
You know what? You were asking me about the books on my shelves, and I was mentioning
Yeah.
Barry Tesler, who she wrote The Art of Money, and she's a
Okay.
money therapist. She came up with this concept of a money date, where you and your money go on a date, and it looks like buying some chocolate or playing some music that you like, or doing something to sit with your money and actually look at the numbers.
Yeah.
But like have something that has you feel safe and like fun and like something to look forward to. Maybe you're like, I'm going to order Thai food and fucking look at my living expenses. You know, like, and then realize I shouldn't be ordering Thai food because I spend way too much on takeout. But if that's what gets you to the table to have the conversation, to look at it. So you can look at going through a pre-approval process as like, all right, what should I wear that cool underwear that I just bought to my, what do I need to do to feel good here? Or at least a little bit better. I feel like every time you go to do your taxes, you feel like, oh my God, this is the worst thing in the world. And then you get clarity on the numbers and you're like, all right, I owe some money, but it's not as bad as I thought. And you feel like this weight lifted. I feel like that happened. I mean, I bought a house. I've been pre-approved, and going through that process was, I thought it was really interesting. I've always said, I'm gonna throw this out in the universe, and I'm totally gonna regret this when this ends up being manifested. But I've always said, like, I hope the IRS audits me one day, because I want to know. I want to know what do you want to find? I don't have anything to hide. I'm like so squeaky clean, but like I'm also interested in the process. So I'm like, all right, I'm throwing that out there. I'm sure someday. I've been wanting to get an IRS agent on the podcast. That's actually something I'm looking for.
I might be able to help you out with that.
Yeah,
the people that I know everybody. I don't know what it is. Every time I mention I need a so-and-so, or I mention, we got somebody.
Cool.
So I'll ask around.
Excellent.
I think that sitting down and so the worst money date would be you're dragging your partner and you're forcing them to sit down at the dining room table and talk about money. Like, or there any kind of confrontational mindset or avoidance mindset. The curiosity mindset is kind of what you're explaining.
Yeah.
Where you're
playful,
like, just
childlike curiosity. Like,
yeah,
I've made tons of mistakes. Okay, great. I've made tons of mistakes. A girl I just talked to right before we got on the podcast, she was like, I've been really irresponsible, you know? And I was like, look, how about this? I don't know that you've been really irresponsible. Let's pretend I gave you a violin and I told you to play the violin and it didn't sound very good. Would you have been being irresponsible? And she's like, no, I just don't know how to play the violin. I'm like, well, isn't that kind of what happened with money? It's not that you're being irresponsible. No one taught you what to do.
That's a really beautiful way to look at it. Yeah. I had to come to terms with that, and then also let myself be mad at the people who should have taught me, and then forgive them so that I can maintain that relationship with them, and then take accountability, because there's a point where I can blame my parents, I can blame the school system, but I am now 32 years old, and it is on me to educate myself and stop fucking up.
So let me ask you this. I'm going to ask you this in two ways. How would you describe your relationship with money years ago in your 20s? And then how would you describe your relationship with money now?
In my 20s, I didn't have one.
You had a relationship with money.
Yeah. I would say negligent, maybe ignorant, or some variation of just, okay, I have enough money this month. I didn't really think about the future. I don't even remember what I thought. Like, it just was like, all of my. I
call that the fuck buddy relationship with money.
Yeah, that's it.
Like, we're fuck buddies. We're not worried about the future, but we fuck and it feels good. But like, 100%. We're not really committed to each other, and like, we don't talk all that much. But that's the fuck buddy money relationship.
Yeah, I'd sit down maybe once a month and look at my bills. All my bills were paid. My credit was really good.
You text him like, yo, you up? You up right now?
Yeah, no, that's a really good way to put it. I would definitely say that now, if we're using that analogy, I am in a hopeful long-term relationship. We're not engaged yet, but we're in a healthy relationship. We're building the foundation for a future. I would say.
You run into friction, but then you communicate about it.
Yeah,
you're working through that stuff, and that's amazing. Like, that's huge.
It is scary.
Most people never get to that point in their lives. So just I want to acknowledge you for being in that point, because it's so valuable. Because at the end of the day, we're never going to get rid of money stress. It's actually always, and actually the more money you make, the more money stress.
Choose your pain. Yeah.
They don't tell you that. And I've learned that, fortunately, unfortunately.
Okay. Keep an eye out.
But the level of communication you have with your partner money, the tools that you have, internal, external tools, that's what gives you more peace. Even though the money stress never ends. It's just the tools that you have and the way you deal with it. And that's the same thing with any relationship. Relationships always take work. but you develop those tools, and
Yeah.
whether you're married for a year or you're married for 30 years or whatever it is,
Work.
it's work. That's okay.
Yeah. I like the relationship analogy a lot because it actually reminds me of my current relationship. We're in a similar stage. I'm very hopeful and I feel good and I'm happy and it's healthy, just like with my new relationship with money. However, I know how much there is to lose now. Like I can see a beautiful future. I can see these vacations. I can see the financial stability. I can see the healthcare getting paid for, which is huge. And to fail and to lose that, that's where I'm at. I'm struggling. I'm fighting, maybe coming to terms with and accepting the fear of this is where I want to be, and I might not make it, and I might not make it.
I was telling you, like, I'd rather shoot for where I really fucking want to be.
Yeah.
Like, not like that would be nice. Not like that's pretty good. Like, I want to shoot for like an insane life beyond my wildest dreams. Yeah. And then if I don't quite hit it, my trajectory, like, I'm not going to be disappointed in the outcome.
You met your potential, which is a beautiful thing that most people never experience. I do feel like I met my tattoo potential.
I felt that way too. That at the moment that and not that you can always get better. I'm not saying that, but like when I stopped tattooing, it was around 13 years of full-time tattooing for 13 years. I started at that moment doing tattoos. I was like, these are the tattoos I always wanted to do. It was, I remember feeling that way. And again, I could keep tattooing and keep growing and learning. Yeah. But it was for me personally, and I think it's good to have that kind of like, I don't know, a place where you're like, no, you know what? I accomplished what I set out to do. Yeah. Not because it's what anyone else's expectations are, but like I feel very complete with my relationship with tattooing, with what I've accomplished in the time that I accomplished it. Yeah. And I'm super excited about this journey that I'm on in life now. And one doesn't feel better or worse than the other. It's just, this is what fills my soul right now. And maybe in the future it'll be something else.
Yeah.
But the in-between is weird. Yeah.
The in-between is so shitty. The change, the ego death, all that. But the other side is so great. It really is. So, yeah. I almost feel guilty sometimes for not missing it like I should.
I know what you mean.
I had a moment where I was like, I really don't. I cleaned out my booth recently. So I assimilated my booth into my coworker's booth. She's really sweet. She'll let me guest spot anytime I want. But I don't have a booth anymore. And I don't give a shit. I don't care. I'm fine with it. If I want a tattoo, it'll be there. I'm fine with it.
These days, the shop I own in Brooklyn, I just like let the people that work there, like I let them do what they want to do. Run it.
I actually didn't know you owned a shop. I bet you're the coolest owner. That's awesome. Oh my gosh. And you give them all the tools and
I give them everything. I pay for everything. I'm like, I do booth rental. So I'm just like, you guys can run however you want to run it. This is not my main source of income anymore. So I just do booth rental and I let you all and if you need anything or anything, I'm here to support you. Yeah. But now what's important for me about my shop is that it is a place where artists are free to express themselves and just have fun. It's what I always wanted in a shop. That's why I left walk-in shops to start my own private studio, and that expanded, and now it's a street shop. And I just want it to be like a dope place where artists can thrive, because it's not my personal source of income anymore. It's kind of its own little art project in a way. Yeah.
You make it sound so like I wanted that at one point. I think right now it's hard for me because I'm juggling so much to conceptualize it, but that is something that I would like to visit one day and see. That sounds really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Come up to New York. But this was such a cool conversation.
Good. Okay.
Not what I think in talking to you, I realized, all right, we're not just going to talk about real estate. I'm glad we touched on it, but I just think this is a really fascinating conversation. So thank you so much for coming on the podcast. Let's definitely keep in touch. And how can people find you on Instagram? I need to buy a house in Jacksonville, Florida. What do I do?
Yeah. So I'm tattoo.realtor on Instagram. Any city, any state, I have a referral system. I'll hook you up. I'll take care of you.
Okay, great.
If you're in Jacksonville, I'll really hook it up for you.
Excellent. Awesome. And you do financial seminars, and you might be doing your own podcast. So I'm excited to see your growth. And I want to support other artists, creators, businesses. And so I'm honored to get to have you on the podcast and shine some light on you and what you're doing, because I think it's super cool.
Thank you so much for having me and reaching out to me. It means a lot.
Hey, I hope you enjoyed the show. Again, I just want to prompt that if you got some value out of this conversation, please go and leave us a rating and a review on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you saw this podcast. It really helps me out, and it really helps other people to find this podcast. I want more people to have these types of conversations around money so that we can all be more free and at ease and abundant and able to create the lives that we really want to live. So please share this and rate and review. Appreciate it. Thanks.